Welcome back to Naval Action, episode 20 of A Letter to the King. For those of you new to the series, A Letter to the King is my attempt to give you an update on what's going on PvP-wise on the Euro PvP1 server. Before we get into this week's action, let's have a look at where we were at the start of the week. So at the start of the week, we'd seen the Brits and Dutch and Swedes pretty much dominate on Haiti, pushing back the Danes and the French just to the tip here on the edge. The alliance was holding. There'd been no major rogue actions. Everything was sort of reasonably well settled down. The pirates were under immense pressure around their capital of Mortimer, but still holding a good swathe of land off the south tip, off the south side of continental United States and into Mexico. The Spanish, the Brits and the Dutch were talking about an alliance, not an alliance, oh, good grief, wash my mouth with salty tears, a truce very much to allow the Spanish to rebuild and retain their player base. The truce would result in the Spanish holding their existing holdings here, retaking Trinidad, and also grabbing a bunch of ports up around here as a buffer zone for attacks directly from the British, with the Dutch mediating as buffer zones for attacks on the south side of Cuba. Now, just as we came to the close of the week, by all accounts that treaty is now ratified by all three sides. Not to universal appeal. There's a fair number of Dutch folks unhappy with it. There's a fair number of Brits unhappy with handing back all these ports over here. Some of the Spanish are just not happy at all with sort of having to cede peace. The Americans don't feel as though they've been fully consulted, and what happens between the Americans and the Spanish we shall see. And generally, peace over here, peace over here. What is there left to biff? One is less left to ask. Well, certainly there's still some biff to be had. Early on in the week, the Brits pushed the French out of Haiti. So the French now are back to the very east of the map with no presence at all beyond the Antilles. So that'll be interesting. The French have just begun to sort of refocus. They were getting a lot of ganking going on in this area, a lot of Brit fleets sailing out of Plymouth and ganking. The French are now aggressively repelling that ganking, and it wouldn't surprise me to see the French hop back over via their colleagues and alliance partners, the Danes. In saying that, the Danes are reasonably quiet. They did pick up a port today. They made a run and grabbed Sail True, is it? St. Louis? I can't remember. They grabbed this port here on the corner, just north of the Freeport. So the Danes have come back into it. Interestingly enough, though, for the first time, I've not seen this happen before, the Danes actually contacted the British diplomats and asked if over the weekend if there could be no more port biffo and instead could we have lots of nice open world PvP. The Brits were sort of okay with this, and then the Danes rocked up with a huge fleet, 14-15 ships, and just parked themselves off Port Morant, got themselves into a bunch of scuffles, eventually got killed to a man. But they fought, they came out of battle screens, they fought, they came out of battle screens, and eventually they died. And I know there was a fair amount of tipping of the hat on the British side for the action that had been brought to them by the Danes. So the Danes, 20-man fleet, 15-man fleet I should say, they met a 20-man fleet in the end. That was when they had their demise. But it was 6 hours of non-stop engagements just off the south tip of Port Morant there around Jamaica. The French had been doing sort of smaller versions of that. The pirates have done smaller versions of that. And at the moment, this is where the PvPers find most of their fun, and I'll come to that towards the end of the presentation. But hats off to you, Danes, for bringing the biff. 6 hours of solid PvP all around. The pirates rocked up about the same time with a smaller fleet and got themselves duly spanked as well. Typically, whenever you gank around a nation's capital, you'll have 2 or 3 glorious engagements where you slaughter some poor, smaller, disorganized groups, and then you've really put your hand into the beehive, and probably by, if you're fortunate, the 3rd engagement, you'll basically get a slapping. And that's what happened. The Dutch pushed the pirates out of Haiti, taking up the last port. In fact, I think it was the Americans, and then maybe some shenanigans, which we'll come to in a moment, resulted in this port closing out as a Dutch port. Elsewhere, and I've had to move my legend because this is just not what happens normally. There's a little fishhook shaped island on the very sort of northeast corner of the map, with 3 ports there: Somerset, something flats, and something else. And 2 flags were pulled simultaneously by the Dutch and the Swedes. The Brits had already organised with one of the parties to provide a screen, and so we had this hilarious race, stage out of Secret Island, wherever Secret Island could be, to get to Somerset flags. It's a decent sail, it's a good 50-minute sail, and everybody got up there. Poor old pirates got a biffing. The Dutch managed to get their flag down first, and so the Dutch have got Somerset. So there's only 2 little ports left up here now that the pirates hold, and probably the week would be summarised by the pirates taking a spanking. The irony is that the only people who don't seem to want pirate ports at the moment are the pirates. I have received numerous in-game mails and forum contacts and chats with pirate folks saying they have sort of given up defending ports, and they sort of don't want to get involved in port defences anymore. I've had some people say, well, that's what happens when you lose a lot. But I actually genuinely believe the core of the pirate PvPers are no longer worrying about organised port defences. And to some extent, unfortunately, although I don't have a great deal of sympathy for the pirate plight in general, that's sort of because of the actions of their PR department. The pirates have had a very sort of specific PR department over a few months. They smashed the Americans back to more or less a single port. They camped out in Jamaica for a while and lorded it over everybody. So whereas there seems to be some sympathy for the Spanish, and there seems to be preparedness to negotiate with the Danes, and even, talking about flipping ports back to timers that would be more friendly for the French, I feel the general consensus amongst the Brit, Dutch, Swedish and US alliance is you can't go wrong if you're taking a pirate port. So the poor pirates are right up Pooh Creek without a paddle at the moment. And that leads us to the first outbreak of shenanigans by the Dutch. So a Dutch rogue clan, in fact, declared rogue by their own nation in an official diplomatic communique, snuck up and took Playon and Mandinga during the week. And this is interesting. I mean, this for me is kind of good in a way. One of the things that will happen when the new alliances patch comes in this month is that this sort of shenanigans might not even be possible. You might not even be able to attack an allied port. And here we've got a bunch of, let's call them left-footed cloggies, rather than the alliance right-footed cloggies, who don't agree with the alliance and seem to be making that very obvious. And they've snaffled up a couple of allied ports off the Brits. And although, obviously, as a Brit, that's terrible, how dare they, it's actually quite good fun. The stir in Brit chat was, hey, what's going on? Have the Dutch turned against us? And anyone who's chatted with the Dutch diplos are saying, no, it's a rogue clan. And then you get all the follow, is it a rogue clan? Is it a Dutch trick? What's going on? Maybe they're not really a good alliance partner. Maybe they're sneaking into our territories. under the veil of a rogue clan. And of course, all we have is the Dutch council's word that it is indeed a rogue clan. So this is proper shenanigans. This could be a super duper, plausible deniability rogue clan. It could be a genuine rogue clan. But when the alliances patch comes, I don't think you'll be able to attack your allies at all. I think there's a odd chance they may be taking that option away from us, that you won't even be able to agitate or attack a friendly port, which would mean you'd have to change nation, which should be hard and is hard. So as much as it's annoying, I quite like the sort of subterfuge that could be enabled with the player-made alliance. Anyway, let's see how that one plays out. I know that a response to this rogue clan is being formulated by the Brits. So let's see if anything comes of that. What else has been going on? Well, it's more sadness for the pirates. The Brits are a little bit bored because other than the PvP ganking around their ports, have been giving it to the pirates, as have the US, and they've pushed them all the way along the coast here now. And the poor old pirates are down to just a handful of ports in this area, which was really their only big area for trade and shipbuilding. Now, you can always bung a smuggler's flag on and go and buy stuff from an enemy port, but not as easy to do, and you become easy pickings. To some extent, the pirates are broken at the moment. They're sort of a nation with perks, but of course they're not a nation. A lot of people play them, don't want to play them as a nation. It's going to be a long time, probably 3 months optimistically, for the new pirate mechanics to come out. So in the meantime, they're copping a squeeze. Now, as much as they don't defend ports, they do engage in open world PvP. I took half a dozen fellas up here for a little go at one of the ports, Achacha Flyer, or Jihadi Sneeze as we call it, and we were met by far superior forces. We were only like 5 or 6 guys, and a couple coming in this way and a few coming up this way, and we were met by a whole bunch of second rates and third rates, and we got no chance of planting the flag. Shame on me, stayed in a battle screen for a good 10 or 15 minutes while I waited for the second force to disengage so we could group up, and managed to get away. Eventually I did leave after 15 minutes and was then tagged 3 times before I managed to make my getaway. The other guys fared a little bit better. So shame on me. Bloody hypocrite, Jeheil. Anyway, you're in a battle screen. If you come out, you're going to die. What do? You wait until you got half a chance. At least I didn't log off. I did come out, but no excuse. Shame. I wanted to know I walked home naked, Cersei style, after this battle. So the pirates have got the Americans, they've got the Dutch, and they've got the Swedes at their doorstep. They've got like 3 ports left here now. Fishhook Island's knackered. There's a Dutch port on there, and I can't believe they haven't camped a few ships up there to finish the job off. And now their last few ports are viced in between the US and the Brits are kind of bored and got nothing else to do, so why not slap a pirate? So this will be the pirates' last stand up here. What happens to them then, I don't know. I expect them to defend in open waters. They might not jump into the port battles proper, but I expect them to defend in open waters. I know the guys who fight up there. I've been fighting them for months, coming all the way up here. And they're a good bunch. I mean, the dirty pirate scum, but they're a good bunch, and they know how to sail a ship, and they're quite happy to give a pixel away if it means a good fight. So it's not looking good for the black. Not looking good at all. Now, there's big changes coming to alliances and conquest, and there's been a big change this week, of course. They've introduced what we refer to as the Columbus bottle, and that is, I was in where was I? Over here in Connell, and I'd got myself a sealed bottle, and I opened it, And it appeared here, just off the coast of Australia, probably where that M370 plane disappeared. Yeah, hour and a half to go and get it, hour and a half coming back. Thank you very much, developers, for that one. I suppose if the loot is going to be gold, then you should bloody work for it. So a 2 or 3 hour sale for a chance of getting a 500,000 gold drop, or a couple of million if you pop some marines, is justifiable. I just wish that they'd kept it a bit more random, so it would be between sort of 3 and 8 squares rather than always 8 squares, and actually lowered the loot table. I'd prefer it if they swapped the port battle loot tables of sort of blues and resources, and gave the current bottle loot tables to folks who grab a port. But anyway, that's just me gibbering on. Thank you very much, devs, for giving me an hour and a half bloody sale. That's enough of Columbus bottles. Now, I'll put a couple of links in the follow-up in the description for the video. One of the things that devs are doing, and I very much appreciate it, is whenever they're making big changes, they put a post up in their forums. There's a part of the Games Labs forum is this thing here. This is their forums, forum.gameslabs.net. Sign up, and here's Games Labs official forums, and there's a whole bunch of them, but one of them is their developer news and announcement forums. And in here, they discuss all the bits and bobs. So this is where they were discussing crew management and so on and so forth. And right now, there's 2 big discussions going on: alliances and conquest. So alliances is the notion that each of us every week will get to vote on who our friends and enemies are. And then there's a sort of domino rationalization as that. So, you know, the enemy of my enemy and all that sort of good stuff. And the other part is to do with conquest. So we've already heard about the fact that ports are going to be, rather than buying a flag now, you'll have to fight around the port and agitate the port, and it makes it then available for capture. But they're also talking about the nature of capturing regions, and they've got this draft map, which for some reason has been done in negative. You know, the sea is black and the land is grey with orange writing on it. It's a Russian thing, I'd imagine. But you can see here they're divvying up our beautiful map into regions, and the idea is that you will be able to capture a region. Now, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but they're even talking about completely eradicating a nation, and that nation will then become subservient, forced alliance to its conqueror. And then once a nation has taken all the map, or dominated, or a time period has passed, there'll be a map reset. So there'll be, to some extent, you could refer to it as seasons, but it might give a bit of bite to things. There's lots of discussion going on. Again, it's in the forums here. Get into this forum, and it's only been up a few days, and there's already 156 replies, 280 odd replies to the alliances. Get in there, have a read, have a think, see what people are talking about, and chip your tuppence in if you've got a good idea, because we are a bit fortunate in that this is alpha testing. And when folks have said stuff to the dev, ooh, the defender perk's overpowered, they've listened, and the defender perk has been nerfed a couple of times. And there's a difficult balance for the developers there, as not letting QQ turn everything into a cuddle fest. But this could be quite interesting. I mean, I really like the idea that if you held a region, there'd be a benefit to it. So perhaps you hold this region here in the US, and the US is famous for its greenwoods, so perhaps live oak could be more populous here, or cheaper, or you get a bonus for farming live oak. Perhaps if you're in Haiti or something, you get cheaper labour force because the abuse of the locals to be used as a labour force So maybe you get more labour hours generated if you hold regions in Haiti or whatever. I think that'd be fantastic. They're not talking about that, but that'd be fantastic. So I've chipped that in myself as a bit of an idea. I think that'd be really good if there was tactical benefits. Maybe parts of Mexico spit out more silver, or parts of Cuba spit out more gold, or cigars, or tobacco, or something. I don't know. But get involved in these conversations. Have your say. Try and keep it focused. So, when we're talking about alliances, don't fill it full of pirates going, pirates aren't a nation. We know pirates aren't a nation. Pirates, unfortunately, aren't on the radar at the moment. There's no discussion about what pirates are going to be. But clearly, whatever they're going to be, it needs to be different than they are now. So, chip in a bit of pirate stuff, but keep the focus on the area that we're meant to be focusing on. So this looks really interesting. And, look, there's bits of the Pacific here. So this is going to be the PvE zone if they stick to their guns. The Pacific side of the map. This will be where PvE takes place. And then this will be where PvP takes place. They're talking about if you pull a mission, say, from Cuba, even a PvE mission will be over here in a different region so that you'll be causing agitation to the port. So even the PvEers will be dragged into the macro meta that will be the conquest for the king of the Caribbean. So there we go. Get yourself involved and chip in. Let's have a look at where we expect the Biffo to be next week. Now, to be honest, we're really waiting on this alliances patch. There's a big withdrawal from the organised, what people call RVR, the realm v realm, the nation v nation stuff. So as a result, I think the Biffo is going to be limited. So my yellow spots are where I think there might be a few port battles. I think the Danes and the Brits might have a bit of a go at each other here. The French might try and make it back in. The poor pirates, their last few ports will come under pressure. And this is where I think there'll possibly be the biggest fight. Or maybe not. Maybe the pirates have just pulled up sticks and gone buggier. We're going to go and watch the Olympics. The blue areas are where I think the ganking is going to take place. This is where I think the gank fleets are going to be operating. So be it British fleets in French waters or Danish fleets in British waters, American fleets in Spanish waters and vice versa. And everybody kicking the pants out of the pirates for no good reason. So that's what I'm expecting to happen next week. There's a little caveat here. The Brits are meant to hand these ports over. I know there's a lot of folks who aren't happy about that. Let's see how that goes. If this treaty is truly to come into effect. The tally board shows the Brits up a few ports, mostly those ones they grabbed at the end of the week off the pirates. America lost one. They lost a couple to the Spanish. The Dutch made big headway, very much at the cost of the pirates. The French got booted out of Haiti. The Spanish grabbed a couple back off the Americans. The pirates got absolutely marmalised, cut in half again. They're just subdividing. They get divorced. They lose half their assets every week at the moment, the poor old pirates. The pirates now, they've reached a technical position in naval action that we refer to as less than the Swedes. And not just a bit less than the Swedes, loads less than the Swedes. So, poor old pirates. If I could feel sorry for them, I would. It's not looking pretty at all. I really hope the devs start putting out some breadcrumbs for the pirates soon, as to at least a discussion on what their mechanics might be. Will it be some sort of raiding? And after you raid a port, you get lovely financial benefits and booty. Will you be able to mod your ships and basically pimp a ship out with extra cannons or extra speed or some sort of messing around, sort of blueprint enhancements to captured ships? The pirates needed mercenaries. I'd love to be able to hire a pirate clan to go and attack my enemies. So I really hope the devs put some breadcrumbs out soon for the pirates, because we know we've got alliances coming. We know we've got the new port battle mechanics coming. We know we've got the new conquest mechanics coming. That sounds like an awful lot of work. And the pirates need something soonish, because otherwise what they're going to do, they're just going to be, what, building ships in free ports and smuggler trading. Yeah, it's pretty bleak for the black. Anyway, that's enough of my twaddle. Thank you very much. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. I will see you on the oceans. I will catch you, and then I'll hide in the battle screen.